Hey guys, kinggath here, and we're going to try a little bit of discipline today because I finally got my sound equipment all working, and so now it's correct where I'm supposed to stand a few inches back from the mic rather than having it kind of in my mouth, which is what I've done in the past. And so it's this temptation to lean forward is very, very strong. So we'll see if I can make it through without blowing your guys' eardrums out outside of my opening there. But today we've got another patch for Sim Settlements 2. This is patch 1.0.10, which I'm calling Rise of the Hotkeys. Now, obviously, the Rise part has to do with Rise of the Commonwealth, which we just relaunched. And if you haven't checked that out, it is pretty awesome. We've got all of the city plans from Rise of the Commonwealth ported forward, as well as a couple of the winning entries from the city plan contest to give you guys an upgradable city plan for all of the Bethesda settlements. So that's the vanilla ones, the DLC ones, everything but home plate of the ones that Bethesda has released as official DLC. We didn't do any of the Creation Club player homes, all that stuff, all the stuff that feels like a player home. We didn't do those, but all the rest are now covered, so you've got those available. Not to mention there's also the city plan contest going on, and some of those people's entries are already available now, so there are so many city plans available. And in the fact of you guys playing that, you found some of the bugs that inevitably come with the launch. And we've got a lot of those fixed today. I've also got some really great quality of life stuff to talk about today, including some new hotkeys, as implied with the patch note name. But before we get to that, we got to thank our patrons. So a big shout out to a few of you guys. You are all awesome for helping us out. The number of people that are contributing is amazing. It's allowed us to do some really, really cool stuff that we're working on for Chapter 2. We recently just picked up some new cloud computing space, which is going to let us do some crazy stuff in the future, and we're very, very excited to have you guys on board helping out. But a shout out to a few of you. If I don't get to you today, I'll get to you in one of the future videos. But thank you to Alex 0070071, Barlos Bugo, Alpha Omega, Stuart McWilliam, Randall Spears, Not Sparta GT, and Foxy. Thank you all for contributing to the project. We really, really appreciate it. And if you guys aren't aware of this, basically everything that comes in through Patreon, we roll it right back into the mod in some way. We try to do things like purchasing stuff for our team to make better stuff. We get software. We take care of our server needs that handle the mod stuff, such as our forums and things like that. So there's a lot of little costs that come up, and you guys make sure that the developers on the team don't have to dig into their pockets. Really awesome of you guys. All right, let's get into the patch notes. So we've got a lot to cover today. It's probably going to be one of my longer patch note videos, but I hope it's all exciting news for you guys. So the first step is we're going to talk about Rise of the Commonwealth, because you guys found some pretty nasty bugs right away, and I got them resolved as quickly as possible and put up a hotfix patch. As far as the public beta, I did not do it a public hotfix in general because it's a complicated one. It requires you to update 3 mods at once, and I was worried with the way the patches go out that without me putting that out in a video, you guys wouldn't have caught on, and I needed more time to test it because I didn't want to announce that and then not have it work. And it turned out that the first hotfix didn't work anyway, so it was a good thing I didn't just hotfix it and only did it on the public beta. Somebody on the public beta server gave me some details, and we got it sorted out. I call it a public beta server, but it's really just a Google Drive that we openly share to all of you guys. So if you're interested in ever using those, I post the public betas usually a few days or a week before we launch the patches, so that way we can get some extra eyes on it to see if there's any issues, because a lot of times when we're testing on the team, we understand how it all works, so we go specifically for the issue. We don't necessarily see it in the context of a real game, and so some things can get missed, and that definitely is one of the things that was caught this time. So really happy we have that public beta. I would love to have more of you guys joining in on that. All right, so let's talk about these fixes to ROTC. The biggest problem that you guys found was for those of you that had stockpiled a bunch of stuff already, or who had turned off the city plan construction costs, the city plans would basically level themselves up immediately. You'd build the first level, and then it would immediately start to go to the next level, and it would just repeat, and it was just too much stress on your systems. And for some of you, that would cause so much script lag that it would never delete the old items, and you'd have a lot of duplicates. So obviously that's a big problem, and that is actually one of the reasons that we had the original design to ROTC to have that long delay between your levels, on top of it being way more immersive. You wouldn't want to see these people just immediately leveling up their settlement. It makes more sense for them to do it gradually during your playthrough. So on an immersive level, it was awesome, but it was mandatory for stability, because on some of your lower end systems, doing multiple city plan levels one after the other is really, really bad for your save files. So we've got that issue fixed now. So if you had that rapid fire and it's causing problems for you, you might want to roll back and start up again with this patch. Now, again, I want to remind you guys we had to patch a bunch of stuff at once. So you need Workshop Framework, SS2, and Rise of the Commonwealth all need an update. If you load your patch with just one, or your save with just one of those updates and not all 3, you could end up in a worse situation than you started. So please go update all those mods before you pop back into your save. All right, the other issue, or one of the other issues that I addressed that was on the common report list is the warning about missing plugins. And the reason I'm even bringing this up, because I consider this a very minor issue, is because I think a lot of people don't understand this about Workshop Framework layouts and SS2 city plans, is that missing plugins doesn't mean you can't use it. It's just telling you, it's a heads up, you should probably go check the mod page where you got it and see if there's anything missing. And like, for example, if a mod required a very specific mod, you would want to know about that so that you have it in your load order. But the reason that you can even access those in the game is because it doesn't actually care if you have those mods. If you don't have them, those items will just get skipped. It will, and for SS2, for the plots, usually those warnings are about missing add-on packs. It'll just find a different plot design for you. So it's not really a deal breaker if you get that warning, but I did go ahead and arrange to remove it for the ROTC plans because the missing plugin that you guys were missing was likely just an add-on pack one of us was using during the conversion, or we had this extra mod that I made just for the conversion team to help them out with some stuff, and that was ending up in the required lists of some of the city plans. So I basically cleaned up the requirement lists for all of the ROTC city plans so that now it just states SS2 as a requirement, which obviously you will have if you're using an SS2 city plan, so you should no longer see that come up. But just wanted to let you guys know, if you do see that, that doesn't mean you can't use that city plan, and that could very likely come up with the city plan contest. There's lots of entries already popping up on Nexus. I imagine we'll have quite a few more over the next couple of weeks because there's still another 10 days left in the contest. Well, I guess by the time you guys are hearing this, it'll be like a week left in the competition. So if you're looking to join in, there's still time. You could do a last-minute city plan entry. Go check out my video, 5-minute tutorial on entering the city plan contest. It's really, really easy. All right, the last issue was pathing. So some of you guys care about this a lot. Others don't care at all, or just figure the pathing is kind of garbage in settlements in general. But I know some of you guys really, really like that for the immersion. I really like it. I just I've gotten to the point where I've become jaded, where I just don't care anymore because the settlers are so bad about pathing, even in the vanilla game. On my original playthrough, I still have that save. When I load into it, they all just kind of clump up in the backyard of Sanctuary, and it's really sad. And that's just a vanilla game. So the pathing, though, with ROTC was horrendous, and we figured out why that was. It was due to the way we do pre-combines. I found a workaround for it. This is one of the reasons that you need to update Workshop Framework as well, because Workshop Framework powers the placement of city plans, so I had to make a change to the way Workshop Framework works in order to support these new pre-combines in ROTC. So all of that combined, you should have a way better experience with ROTC. And mad props to the team who put that together. The conversion team was a bunch of you guys in the community who came together. You worked with me and and put this together for you guys. I mean, I did the technical work and everything, but they did all of the labor of love of going through and making sure that all the plots were swapped correctly and that you guys have access to things like the caravan services and stuff. So mad props to you guys. All right, so the other thing we want to talk about is the hotkey side of this. Actually, before I even do that, let's talk about a couple of more fixes. I do have 2 fixes that are on the list. Obviously, I'm not going to go over the entire patch notes. You guys should go do that on the simsettlements2.com wiki. But I want to talk about 2 of them in particular because I think a lot of you guys were affected by these 2 issues. One is that there was one remaining main quest issue that some of you were experiencing, and we finally figured out a repeatable pattern for it, and that was with Vim and Vigor. You guys have been reporting this basically since launch, and we just couldn't figure out the pattern. Every time anybody on my team would go through and play through it, worked just fine. It turns out you had to do things in a very particular order, and our tester Black Belt, awesome guy, went through and figured out. He looked through all the reports, all the different patterns people were describing and going through it, and played through it a bunch of times until he figured out the exact trigger. We were able to fix that. So if you had a problem with Vim and Vigor in the past, it should rectify on your existing saves because we just had to change some dialogue conditions. So you should be able to go there and suddenly pick up from those saves. But if you're ever if you were waiting for an opportunity to play through the SS2 main quest line, you wanted to make sure that it was bug-free. It is now as close to bug-free as it's ever been. I'm sure there are some issues here and there, some little tinkering things we've got to do, but you should be able to play through the whole thing. There are a couple of mod conflicts. I believe full dialogue interface breaks one of our quests that you can just disable temporarily and run through, and then there's a camera mod that screws things up, but I don't think a lot of people are using that one. So it's for the most part, most of you guys should be able to go through that now. So that's a big deal. It's a big milestone internally to be able to say, like, okay, everybody can play through our main quest now, relatively issue-free, which is awesome. And then the other big one, this was a major bug that we just didn't know was there, or rather people suspected it was there, but Yagi finally locked it down and confirmed it was there, and that is the issue with caravan services. It was correctly sharing food and water, but the plot upgrades weren't acknowledging that sharing. And that was just a little math bug in our code, got that sorted out. And so now you should find that if you are trying to design a little empire, which is a key design point of SS2, is this idea that your settlements can exist kind of as a group or in little clusters, to where one maybe is focused on food and others focused on water, etc., to where you can do that if you'd like. You can obviously also try and make them all self-sufficient, but if you wanted to build that, it wasn't working particularly well because the plots, especially residential and recreational, wouldn't upgrade unless the local settlement had the appropriate amount of resources, and that has been fixed. The caravan resources will now correctly count for upgrades as well. So that's a huge one. That's a huge bug fix and should make for a much better experience going forward. All right, enough talking about problems. Let's talk about the good stuff. So obviously with hotkeys, we're talking MCM, and we added some new MCM hotkeys, but more importantly, we added a way to access what those represent for those of you guys who don't have MCM, which I recognize is everybody on Xbox and a fair number of you on PC who are just not into using the script extender. So I want to show you guys a new thing you can craft at the workbench, because the MCM hotkeys, for those of you guys who are looking for them, you can see it in the patch notes what they are. Not particularly exciting to go over. They just open up some stuff. Obviously, it's quality of life improvement. You can see you can now toggle the hollow icons, and you can now get access to the issue a command letter. So there's issue to the town meeting gavel. It's just, this is what it's called in here. But what's more exciting to me is this little guy. So if you go to the craft part of your city planner's desk and go down to tools, you'll see there's a new city manager tools option. And basically what this does is it gives you access to all of these other tools from a single hotkeyable item, or rather a favorites menu item, because one of the problems with the design of SS2 right now is we've got all these different things separating functionality, which was done to simplify it so that you're not looking at these menus of like 30 different options, which can be overwhelming, and instead grouped them into things. So we've got the town meeting gavel, which is to issue commands. We've got Vitomatic for tracking people. We've got the ASAM tracking for tracking items, and the icon toggler for turning on and off those floating icons on the plot. Well, now all of those can be accessed from this. This will basically pop you up a menu and offer to use one of these things for you, and it also gives you access to some of the controls that were previously only available to MCM users. So I have this built. I'm going to show you guys this, and I'll talk about some of the options that were only available to MCM users previously as we get to them. So I'm going to go out here, and we're going to modify my HUD a little bit because it'll make this demonstration a little easier. So we're going to go into SS2's mod config, and obviously any of these settings, for those of you guys who aren't on MCM, these are also available in the City Manager holotape. I just find this way easier. So we're going to change the info box hover display on, and we're going to change this to never. Okay, it is on never auto hide. Fantastic. All right, so we're going to go hover over something so that the info box appears. Maybe it's over. Will it come over for you? There we go. So now we've got our nice little info box. So that is the info box, which we're going to be talking about. And then the resource panel is something else we're going to be talking about. That is the thing on the far right over there that says Caravan Network at the top. And then the last one is status meters. That's on the left. So you guys are going to need to know about those three things. It'll make this next section, I'm going to show you guys a little more understandable. All right, so we're going to launch this City Manager tool. So obviously, before this thing, to have all of our different tools, you would have needed 4 different favorite slots, which is too much. That's too much for one mod. Way too much. Every mod should get one. So we're going to now have the City Manager tools. Now, obviously, if you like these, I'm not taking them away. I think they're still useful for some things that you just don't want to have the double activation. Because obviously with this, you have to first select the tool. Whereas for some things that you use all the time, it's nice to be able to just go right to them, especially something like the toggler. But this, I think, will be a huge quality of life improvement for some of you guys. All right, so obviously we have this thing that can show the icons even outside of workshop mode. So I'll go ahead and trigger it, and you can see the icons start appearing. Takes a minute because it has to go through and scan for all the plots and make them appear. But now those will show up until I either trigger a toggle through a hotkey or workshop mode entering, or trigger that toggler again. So now I can see those quickly outside of workshop mode, which can be useful. Next one up, we've got the ASAM tracking. This is your tracking menu for different plots. So if you go to plot tracking options, you can choose inactive plots, construction, upgrades, different types, all sorts of interesting tracking things, and it puts a little marker on each of them. Then we've got, if we go back into there, we've got this new one, HUD position controls. Now this was available for PC players with MCM through hotkeys, but wasn't available to the rest of you until now. So this is going to be your way, especially if you're on a TV that's not in 1080 resolution, you've got some sort of alternate screen resolution where the HUD pieces are clipping, this is going to be your friend. And I'll show you how to use that in a moment. This one I think is going to be especially powerful for a lot of you guys because I have been getting tons of requests for more report data, and this is the closest thing we have to a report view right now to show you more information about your settlement. We are developing lots of other ways to show you guys more information about your settlement. So those of you who are data heads and don't find that the little meters on the left are enough for you, we want to get you guys more information, and we're working on some of that. A lot of it's going to come with chapter 2 though, so this thing's going to be pretty important in the short term. And then once I show you guys this, if you have more ideas, definitely head to the suggestion forums to post about this, because this type of thing is something I can do more of. Not easily, but more easily than I can do with terminals. And then of course we've got the town meeting gavel, which is the thing that can allow you to summon your settlers. I'm going to pop this open just to show you guys what these do, because a lot of people aren't familiar with it, and to show that there's some new options. So back to work just basically triggers an auto assignment. Gather around summons all your settlers to you. It's effectively the same as triggering the little bell in workshop mode, only then you are the bell in this case. So they will all follow you around for a bit. Then we've got these 3 new options: gather unemployed, gather homeless, and gather bored. Bored being people who don't have a recreational assignment. If you guys didn't know this about SS2, recreational is actually a 3rd assignment. Much like residential is its own kind of assignment class, so is recreational. You can actually have 3 plots per person if you want. But they're an optional thing. You don't actually have to have the recreational. They're just a nice little bonus. So if you hit one of these, it will summon all those people to you. Now, unlike gather around, they won't necessarily follow you. They're just going to kind of show up right next to you. So it's nice in combination with the Vitomatic tracking, where you first track them and then use this to summon them to you. That way they'll have a little quest icon on top, quest marker on top of their head, so you can find them quickly after you decide to walk away, or if they wander away from you. But this is a quick way to bring those people to you and find those last couple of stragglers who you can't figure out who are missing assignments. And then lastly, time for reassignment. This one's always been here, but basically it unassigns everybody from everything and then triggers a call to auto assign. So this is a great way if you're struggling, or if you're finding that people are assigned to too many things or weird combinations of things. Sometimes this is just a necessary reset button. All right, let's go back up to cancel. Bring our menu up again. Go away all the way to the bottom. Vitomatic tracking, like I mentioned, is a way for you to get access to, here we call it hobby list instead of board. This is something I mentioned in our live stream recently, is that we had 3 different ways to refer to hobbies and such, and so we need to find some consistency. I like board instead of hobby list, so I'll probably come back and change this. I might even change it before the patch goes out, so you might not actually see it as hobby list when you load up. But Vitomatic tracking is the last one there. So now let's double back to these ones that I think are going to be really useful to you guys. So resource panel report view toggle. This is one where I changed the way the hotkey worked when I did this menu, because I realized it was probably more powerful for people using the hotkey as well. So when you click this or use the corresponding hotkey for it, what it's going to do is it's going to switch your, and of course it's not going to do it for me now because I'm recording, but when you click on this, there it goes. Sometimes you have to do this. If you're not familiar with the way the HUD stuff works for mods, it's really hacky. The way that HUD framework was able to inject this stuff, it's very, very sensitive, and it will often ignore your command. So if you find what just happened to me happens to you, just do it again. Just click it a couple more times until it does what you want it to. It sometimes can be finicky, but if you have F4SE, it's a lot more responsive. But I know for those of you guys on Xbox or without F4SE, you're going to find that this sometimes just doesn't want to come up right away. But let's talk about this. So this is a report view, and it obviously has less data than all of you are used to seeing. Some of you guys play with full complexity on, which is the default if you play in survival mode, where you can see all the different components. I'm playing in moderate difficulty, which is the default for most players who aren't playing on super easy mode or in survival, and it breaks the resources down into their categories instead of individual. So instead of worrying about things like wood and steel, I just worry about building materials, and that's the wheelbarrow. But anyway, so the idea of this report view is the first column there shows you how much your current settlement has. Wherever you're standing, that's how much they have. Then next to that is the daily change. That's the plus or minus they're gaining each day for that particular resource type. Next, we have the caravan network. So that would be all of the settlements that this settlement is connected to via its caravan services. It combines all of their resources together to show you what they have in storage. And then finally, the last daily change column is the daily change for the caravan network. So that's the total income and outcome for the network. So this should help you guys a lot with figuring out where your industrial needs are in particular, or where you need to get some more commercial plots up to get more caps in order, things like that, so that you can kind of plan out your network better and ensure that you have everything that you need. And then if you trigger that thing again, it will restore it back to how it was before. So that's a really powerful feature. It's actually been in launch, but only available to people with MCM who thought to look at the hotkeys, because I don't think it had even been documented prior. Speaking of documentation, the Wiki is getting tons of new documentation. Thank you, Wiki team. A bunch of people volunteered from the community. We met up recently, and they have an awesome plan to get all of it filled out. There's people working on quest walkthroughs, digging into the back end of the code and the deep side of SS2 to see how it works and documenting all that. And I'm arranging to answer questions every week for them so that they can keep things up to date and make sure that you guys have all of the information available. So if you go to simsettlements2.com, click on Wiki at the top, you will see we've got a fantastic amount of information available there, so you can learn about some of this stuff that maybe didn't make it into a video yet. All right, so then we're going to go down to HUD position controls. So this, again, available for MCM users, but now is finally available for everybody else. So the way this works is it's first going to show you all of the panels. Now, currently there are these 3, which we talked about a little earlier in the video. There will be more in the future. For example, there's going to be the city plan panel will return eventually. This is something that people noticed was missing that was originally in ROTC. We'll be returning when I have the time and energy to deal with Flash once again. The Flash is one of the thorns in my side, and I'm the one on the team who gets kind of stuck with that task. I actually really enjoy doing HUD work. I just don't particularly like Flash. So anyway, if you've followed me much, you've heard me gripe much about Flash. I will stop now. But the info box is that thing that appears on the left, and I don't know why the resource panel just came up there. Okay, there we go. There's the info box. I was like, did I mock those up wrong? So it'll first show the particular thing you chose, and then it will come up with this menu a few seconds later. Now, it is a little bit delayed. This whole process is a little bit slow because I needed to put in ample delay to make sure that HUD Framework has time to accept these commands. The nice thing is once you have this set up, you don't have to mess with this ever again. So this is kind of a thing you'll have to do once per save, and then you forget about it. I think a lot of you guys are used to doing this already with some of the Def UI stuff. When you want to customize it, you go through the trouble once, and then you don't have to do it again. Now, unlike Def UI, we don't have any way to deal with or to handle imports of configs yet. That is something that's in my long-term to-do list, to be able to export your config from SS2. But in the meantime, you just have to do this once. And if you're using MCM, this is way easier to do with hotkeys. But since not all of you have that option, you can do this here. Now, basically, you just click that, and you can see it's probably hard to notice from that first time, but if I do it again, there it goes. You can see it nudging up a little bit, and we can choose all the different directions. And we can also do a scale up. We can make it bigger if we're having trouble with our vision, or scale it down if we want it to take up a smaller amount of our screen. And then lastly, I added this little bit, show HUD for 5 seconds, in case you didn't see it. If it flickered too quickly and you didn't get a chance, it'll show you for 5 seconds before bringing the menu back up for you to tinker with it some more. And we can do that with all the different panels. It'll again highlight them. It should give it that little weird, there we go, that nice big highlight. And then we can kind of tinker with its position until it's where we want it. And you go, oops, I just scaled that up. Scale down, there we go. Okay, so once you've got that where you want it, you come down and click, and status meters, I'll show you just to make sure, it's that thing on the left over there. So again, works for all of them. So if you're having trouble with your screen cutting them off, you can now resolve that. And then once you're done, you hit finish modifying HUD panels, it'll unhighlight them and restore everything back to how it was before. Now, I think there are some issues with the resource panel, and because I'm recording this earlier in the week, I can resolve those. It looks like it doesn't like the new HUD positioning tool, so I'll get that fixed in the next couple of days. But anyway, this is going to be a really powerful tool for those of you guys on Xbox who have been asking for a way to control these HUD pieces. Now you have access to that. So that about covers all the new stuff. We will definitely continue to add more stuff like this. I know that you guys who use this mod, a lot of you guys who use this mod, use it for all of your playthroughs. So then these types of issues where like things like taking up all your hotkey slots become a non-stop irritant, and we want to improve your life. We want to improve the quality of your sim settlements or your Fallout experience. And so if you guys have ideas for that, definitely head to the simsettlements.com forums, post in the suggestions forums. I see there's pages and pages and pages and stuff. I try to read every single post. I especially pay attention to those that get a lot of traffic. So definitely if somebody responds to one of your suggestions, you should engage with them, because I look at the post count as a way to gauge interest so I can see which stuff I should focus on when I'm looking at ideas for quality of life stuff. And then obviously with each of the new chapters, we'll add a lot of big stuff too, because we have some new things that are unlocking with story. But anyway, that should cover all of this patch notes. Definitely go read through the patch notes yourself to find any of the little things that we've changed that I didn't mention. Perhaps there's a single bug that's been driving you nuts and it may have been fixed. All right, and then of course it's patch day, so I like to give out a piece of merch. Now I always was saying I give away a t-shirt, but technically what I give you guys is a little gift card to our shop, so you could even get yourself one of our fancy new coffee mugs if that is something you're interested in. So if you are looking to get that, all you have to do is post a comment below and include this hashtag. Now I will stress, include the hashtag, don't just put the hashtag. So comment something that'll be interesting to read for me, because I'm gonna have to go through and read all these comments and find the hashtags. So make it a scavenger hunt for me. So if you've got a funny story you want to tell me, if you've got something you love about some settlements you want to talk about, something you hate about it, something you want to see changed, a bug, whatever, just make it interesting, and then include the hashtag hotkey with it, and then I will scour through those comments. I'm going to try and do it within the next 24 hours, and then I will respond to your comment and asking you to get in touch with me on on something like Nexus or the Sim Settlements forums, so that I can verify your identity, because I don't want to just give out an email address on YouTube comments. That is a good way to get spam botted to hell. So I need you guys to get back to me. So make sure if you do post that comment and you're actually interested in winning something, that you go check your comment about 24 hours after you post it. All right, so hashtag hotkey, and definitely go check out ROTC, guys. It's back, and it is awesome, and mad props to the design team who put it together and the conversion team who brought it forward for us. And of course, the city plan contest is still going on. You got another week to enter that. I am going to be going on a little vacation next week, so I'm hoping not to have a delay with the next patch, with the 1.0.11 patch, but there might be. We'll see how much stuff the team gets done between now and then, if I can get it all packaged up and ready to go, because I happen to be getting home the day before what would be next patch day, so we might still have a patch, but we'll see. It might have to get delayed a week. I will keep you guys posted on the news video that will be dropping on the 28th, whether or not we're going to have, I don't know if the timing of that works out. I have to look at my calendar. Either way, I'll keep you guys posted whether or not we're going to have a delay in the patch. I hope to not do so. All right, guys, take care and enjoy the mods.